There's a question that sits quietly in the mind of certain men, but is rarely asked out loud. Not because it lacks importance, but because it carries weight. Why did it fall on one and not others? Same house, same parents, same environment. Yet one works in pressure he cannot explain why others move without disturbance. And consider that carefully. Is that coincidence or that is assignment? Because most people will rush past that question. They will say everyone is different. They will say that is just life. But that answer is shallow because difference alone does not explain burden. Difference does not explain awareness. Difference does not explain why one mind refuses to settle, why others rest comfortable in the same condition. Listen, there's an old saying, the same soil grows weed and wheat, yet only one is cultivated. So what exactly separates you? Why is it that one mind refuses to settle? Why others accept everything as it is? Why does one question, observe and resist? Why other adapts, complies and continues? Now slow this down and look properly. Look at your family without emotion. Who notices what is wrong without being told? Who sees patterns others ignore yet cannot unsee them? Who feels discomfort in places where others feel normal? More importantly, who cannot return to ignorance when awareness has arrived? That right there is the fracture point. That is where separation begins, not through distance, but through perception. Now let's remove the illusion. Being chosen is not comfort. It is pressure without explanation. It is awareness without guidance. It is seeing clearly why being surrounded by people who do not see what you see. And that does something to a man. It isolates him without moving him. It separates him without removing him. It places him in the same environment, but with a completely different internal experience. You start to notice things, small things at first, pattern in behavior, circle in decision, repetitive in outcome. And it becomes impossible for you to ignore them. And slowly you begin to feel out of place, not because you left, but because you changed internally. Now, this is where most men begin to struggle because awareness creates distance, not physical distance, psychological distance. You sit in the same conversation, but they no longer hold weight. You hear the same thinking, but it sounds limited. You observe the same patterns, but now they feel predictable. And here's the part no one explains properly. That shift is not comfort. That shift is pressure. Because once you see clearly, you now respond for what you see. Why is action still delayed? Because you are seeing one thing and then responding to another. Listen, there's an old proverb. A man who knows the road but refuses to walk cannot blame the journey. So ask yourself properly, how long has clarity been present without movement? How many times has something felt wrong and still continued? How many decisions has been delayed, not because you were unclear, but because you are inconvenient? At what point does hesitation stop being conscious and start becoming avoidance? Because now we are no longer dealing with confusion, we are dealing with resistance. Let me give you something to hold on to. A man is placed in a house with a dim light. Everyone adjusts. They move slowly. They accept limitation. They learn to function without darkness. But one man notices the window, not immediately, but eventually. He sees the light beyond it. Everything changes, not because he sees the window. He can no longer pretend the room is enough. Even if he stays, he is no longer in the same as others. Now ask yourself carefully, is this frustration coming from the room or from the fact that you now know that there is more than the room? Because that knowledge is where pressure comes from. This is where most people misunderstand everything. Being chosen is not about being better. It's about being unable to remain what is comfortable. Others can stay, others can continue, others can repeat, but the one who sees cannot unknow. And once awareness is present, ignorance becomes a decision. Now listen carefully, the weight you feel is not random. It is tension between what is currently living and what you already know is required. Gap is where frustration lives. Not because it is unfair, but because alignment has not yet been accepted. Now don't just sit there and observe like everything else. If this message has reached you, and it will not reach many, write chosen in the comment. Not for attention, but for recognition. The next step there is for those who act. Now here's the part that most people will avoid. The question is no longer, why was it given to you? The question is finished. The real question is this. Now that you see clearly, why are you still negotiating with what you already know must change?